everyone, and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And like I always do, I've got another amazing guest for you. So, my lovely, would you like to introduce yourself and let everybody know what it is you do?
Sure. So first of all, thanks, Julie, for having me. My name is Alessandra, and I am an EFT practitioner. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and is also called tapping.
Beautiful. And we will talk about that a lot more because it's something that I'm quite interested in. Tapped into it, it's probably a bit of a silly word to say, but anyway, it'd be good to find out more. So those who don't know me, I'm Julie Fitzpatrick. I'm a multi-award winning therapist and coach. And I use the subconscious mind to help my clients to get to the root of what's holding them back, whether it's stress, anxiety, lack of confidence, or even physical conditions too. So by the end of this conversation, if you like the sound of either of us, then by all means get back and contact us. We'll be sharing our details. So this video, like all my videos, will go up on Millieside Therapy and Coaching YouTube channel as well. So let's get into it. I need to ask you my question before I forget, because sometimes I do. Last time I think I even forgot to introduce myself, but you know what it's like, the old menopause brain. So tell me, my dear, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Being unstoppable for me means that even if something has happened in your life, even if trauma has happened in your life, you can still find a way to live your best life and to be happy. Just simply being happy and enjoy your life. Whatever has happened in your past, whatever circumstances, you always find a way to be as happy as possible.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, it's very, very true. And as much as it's a little bit of a corny thing now about what does being unstoppable mean to you, but actually I think it's a good place to reflect as well, isn't it? Because you all know I'm going to ask this, and it's like, okay, what does that mean to me? And I think that is good to look back and go, yeah. And when I talk to people like yourself, who you're in the health and well-being space the same as I am, for me, I haven't always been doing that after spending 35 years in the corporate world, tapping into things. We're going to use this word tapping in quite a lot now, you can see.
We have to now.
I know, but you kind of end up being who you are as time progresses, right? So do you want to tell us a bit about what you do, but also how you ended up becoming an EFT practitioner? What led you to doing that?
Yes. So basically, I used to be an employee. I used to work like the majority of people, and then for a series of unfortunate events, if you want, I decided I didn't want to be an employee anymore. I want to become my own boss. I want to work by my own rules. I had to go on holiday when I wanted to go on holiday. I wanted to go and watch my children's Christmas play without having to beg for time off, etc., etc., etc. So that's what I did. I started looking for what I could do to maintain myself, because obviously I had to eat and my family has to eat as well. So I was looking for a job that I could do on my own. By my own. So I started looking into coaching. I started training as a coach, and I started all my coaching and everything was okay. But then EFT tapping kind of entered my life, and I just completely fell in love with it. So it was unexpected. I didn't even know what this technique was, but I was offered a session, and that session transformed my life. Simple as that. So I completely transformed my life for the better, and then it helped me deal with a lot of stuff that I will tell you in a minute. My big thing that I was carrying for a long time, and as it was so transformational for me, I realized this is what I am interested in. This is what I want to learn more about, and I want to spread in the world and make more people aware of this amazing technique. Which is what I've done. I've got my qualifications. I got 2 qualifications because I'm a Virgo, and one wasn't good enough.
Perfectionism coming in, yeah. Imposter syndrome as well.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, but it was really good. My second qualification was really the one that allowed me, gave me the confidence to really go in the world and say, yes, I'm an EFT tapping practitioner. and I can help you with this and that. So after I got all of my qualification, then I started helping people and then practice the technique. And then here I am today. And I've also actually, as I'm here, I'm also a children's book author. I wrote a little
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So
yeah.
Thank you. So it's a children's book. Thank you. It's a children's book, all based on around EFT tapping. Is my story, but in a very children's friendly form, and then it goes through all of the tapping points, all of the sequence of what you say and everything. And so I'm also a children's book author.
So is your target audience more children then, or do you work with adults as well?
I work with adults as well, and I tend to work with families, because there you get obviously the kids and the parents and the adults. So I like the idea of helping the parents work through the stuff that might have happened to them, but I also really like the idea of empowering the new generations with tools that they can use when they're feeling unhappy, stressed. So I really like both, working with both.
No, that's really good. Yeah, because I mean, I generally work more with adults. Occasionally I get the odd child, but it's not something that they're not really my target audience, because I think working with children is very specialist, isn't it? You sort of talk to them and deal with them in a different way. So it's not something that I go and go, oh yeah, I work with children, because I don't really. But if the odd one comes along, then so be it. I'm working with a 15-year-old at the moment. I've worked with a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, but then I've worked with that age group and it just didn't work out too well either. So you're like, nah. But so, I mean, I work with the subconscious mind, right? And you are as well, aren't you? Because, and this is what I try and teach people, is that our whole body is our subconscious mind. It's not thinking about this as being our mind, is it? Which I think we do a lot, and we spend a lot of time living in this head. I certainly did, especially in the corporate world. Always in my head, didn't realize that you have to feel in your body, the mind body soul connection. Most of us have heard of that, but it's just words, isn't it? And that's what the biggest lesson I've learned on my journey is. It isn't just words, it is something that actually means something. And if you don't get this and you don't get on board with it, then expect to have more physical and psychological conditions come about. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. And this is actually something that I understood a little bit later in my life. At the beginning, I didn't realize. I thought probably, like the majority of people, words are just words, and then it's good to complain because it makes me relatable, and we all have a good moment with your friends, with your family. And I'm Italian, and then we like a good old moan in my family. But then growing up and learning things, I realized that really what you say is the words that you use really create the reality around you. And it still sounds silly to the people that don't believe it, but it's so true. It really is so true. The words that you surround yourself with, the words that you say to yourself, the words that you say to others, they are so important, so important. And I tell you a little trick, actually. I used to be very judgmental of myself, perfectionist, as we touched on earlier. And I used to really say, oh, Alessandra, you're so stupid. Oh, you're so this, you're so that. And then I've heard someone saying, would you say that, what you just said, to the you, or when you were 4 years old? And I was like, oh, no, I wouldn't say that. So now I have a picture of me when I was 2 years old on my desk. So I can always look at that. And I can...
I love that. Yeah,
and I remind myself
that's a good point. Yeah.
Things.
And on that note, actually, I totally 100% agree with you about the language that we speak about ourselves, and the way we talk to ourselves in a negative way. I cover all of that 100% in my group program a lot, because it's all about the first thought and feelings that come out as soon as you wake up in the morning can set you up for the day, can't they? In either a good or a bad way. And the way we talk to ourselves, so super important. But getting to your point about why do you talk to yourself like? Would you talk to your friend like that? Would you talk to your children like that? Now, in some cases, yes, the answer, they probably go, yeah, of course I would, or whatever. But yeah, but the things that we say to people, they stick, don't they? And unfortunately, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, most you're probably too young to even remember them, but do you remember the Carpenters, or you might have heard their music?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
The brother and sister, weren't they? Back in the 60s or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Karen Carpenter used to be a little bit chubby by all accounts, right? But didn't bother her, I don't think. But then there was an article in the newspaper or something, and they went blah blah blah, and the chubby sister, and she took that really to heart, and then that spiraled into her eating disorder, which ironic, like ended up killing her. So the words, I mean, okay, you can't blame that person completely, because she obviously didn't love herself and was looking for blah blah blah. But point being, when you get bullies and people like that, it's those words can be hurtful, and people take things like that on board, don't they? And then it just becomes like a snowball effect that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And talking to yourself in a terrible way is bad enough. Talking to someone else in a terrible way is horrific.
Yeah.
But I do like your idea of thinking about, like you say, the picture of you, because I do a lot of inner child work.
Yeah.
And when I say someone's suffering from anxiety or something like that, then we take them back to the first time that anxiety become an issue for them. And normally it is back in their childhood, because it's when the belief systems are created, isn't it? So, and we go back, and then you go and see that child, and we find out what the feelings and emotions were attacked, and free them from it. So you do have to go back to that child line, that timeline to that child.
Yeah.
And then you can do some work to bring that inner child to the current version of yourself, can't you? And you free yourself from all what's left behind. And I think that inner child work is so important, isn't it? So how do you work with your clients then? Tell me. I mean, I know it's about tapping at certain meridian points and certain points in your body, but do you want to just give us a little bit of a rough idea on how that all works?
Sure. So I work with my clients either online or in person. So if we were online, we will be pretty much in the same setting that we are now. Imagine that you are my clients and I'm the practitioner. We're having a session together. So it starts kind of like a coaching session. So basically, I ask you, what's your problem? What you're here? What do you want to work on today? And then I get you to tell me what the issue is, and I take some notes, like a coach do as well. And then basically, we start the technique by tapping on this part of the hand, the start here. This is called the side of the hand point, or karate chop point. And we start by setting up the scene. So starting to connect with our brain and saying what we're going to work on. But together with what we're working on, we're going to also put like a self-love statement. So we say something like, even if, and then we say the problem, I'm feeling rubbish about myself, for example, I accept that, and I love and accept myself. So there's a base statement. There's the where we start. So we start telling our brain, I'm going to work on this, but even if I have this issue, I'm okay and I love myself. And repeat this sentence 3 times, and then we start tapping on all of the points. So the points are here, beginning of the eyebrows, side of the eyes, under the nose, under the mouth, collarbone, under the arm, and top of the head. So when you hit all of the points, you said you've done 1 round. And basically, what we do, I will say some of the words that you have probably mentioned in your story of what is upsetting you, and we go and really start focusing on that issue. So we start talking about the issue. So we start bringing it up to you that you feel it present. But we also tapping. And with the tapping, we basically send a calming signal to our brain, because that's what tapping does. So we basically kind of not mess up our brain, but we go and put our brain in a bit of a, okay, I'm aroused because you're bringing up this issue, but I'm also calming myself down because the tapping is calming my brain. So that's what you're doing when you tap. You go through the event that are upsetting you because you need to bring them up because they are there. You know,
exactly. And this is the thing, isn't it? Suppressing them doesn't work, does it? Because it stays stored in your body. Yeah.
Exactly. And tapping is great at doing that because as you bring them all up, rather than re-traumatizing yourself, you're actually calming yourself because you're tapping. And the motion of tapping goes and hits the meridian points, as you were saying earlier. And the old tapping, the old EFT tapping is based on acupuncture. So acupuncture has obviously loads of points in our body. EFT tapping has only 9 points, but we go and press by tapping. We go and press and activate these acupoints, which send the calming signal to our brain. So this is why tapping is so powerful because it unites talking about the issue with the somatic work of actually dealing with your body because the trauma is stored in your body. And that's why I like working, as we were saying earlier, with adults. I like working on past traumas that might have happened. So if something is huge is there, and with children I like to work. Hopefully, children wouldn't have big traumas in life. It could happen, but with kids is more about learning, teaching them how to deal with their own emotions on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that's really good because I think if we can get to the youngsters, then they're not going to grow up with so many issues, are they?
Exactly. At least teaching them a technique, knowing that there is something that they can do, something available to them that they can choose to use or not. Maybe they can go, oh, there was that crazy woman that was tapping on a random on her face years
But
ago.
it made me feel really nice.
And then they go and look into that and they find that they remember what it was, and then it was actually is very beneficial for them. So that's what I plan to do. That's my dream. That what I want to achieve.
So your book, then, do you use that so when you're working with the children, then they kind of get the book and then they can go and read it and understand it in a little bit more detail. Maybe the parents as well, actually, because sometimes it's like, I mean, I've got so many books on my bookshelf that I've not even opened because I'm like, but to have something that's like easily explained, and sometimes that's the way to do it, isn't it? Is to write something as if you are talking to a child. Then you know that you're not talking all this whizzy wild language.
You're not fluffing it up. You're just saying it as basic as possible. And my book is actually my story, but in a child friendly form. And the whole idea came from the fact that I wanted to work with schools and going and speak to kids and stuff. And I knew that I was going to be asked, how did you get into it? And considering that that I went through big trauma, I basically my old story is that when I was 16 years old, I suddenly lost my mom in a car accident, and that was the most traumatic thing that ever happened to me because literally from one morning to the evening, my life completely changed, and I didn't know what to do. I was just got hit by this major life-changing situation. I didn't know what to do with it. I also had my dad with me and then my younger brother. So I suddenly became kind of the reference point because my dad was kind of, what do you say, was really leaning on to my mom a lot. So my mom was kind of the head of the family. So I kind of became the head of the family at 16 years old. And I wasn't expecting that to happen. And I also was going to school. So my life completely changed. And I didn't have any tools or any technique or anything. I just took it on with it. And I did. I got on with it. I carry on with my school. I carry on helping my family, cooking, cleaning, washing, everything I was doing. And then I just moved on and then carried on with my things. But the grief was always there. The grief was because I didn't know what to do with it until 3 to 4 years ago when I finally discovered EFT tapping. Then it really helped me flash this grief out and work through this grief, work through it, and then understand and make peace with what happened to me. So the book, going back to the book originally, is this story, but in a really friendly, child-friendly way. So he says the main character went through something that upset her, because everyone goes through something that upsets them, doesn't it? Especially kids. Was crying, blah, 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 blah. And then she meets someone that helped her and make her feel better through doing the tapping technique. So it tells you bit by bit, and it's good for parents as well, because as you said, it's a bit of a manual on how to do it.
Amazing. And, you know, sorry about your mum, and obviously that was a long time ago now, but it's still really raw, isn't it? When, especially when you're when you're talking about her now, it must, you know, still bring things up, which is fine, because you don't want to not talk about them, do you? Just because they're not there anymore.
No, I'm very open to talk about this because through EFT tapping, I work through my trauma. So my trauma doesn't affect me anymore. It is a part of my life, it is a chapter of my life. And that's what it is, you know. I know that it can sound really horrible, and it can sound like I don't care about it anymore, because a lot of people go, oh, you can't stop caring about it, you can't stop hurting, because if you hurt, it means that you still care. Well, I say differently, I beg to different. You can still care, but drop the hurting bit. People don't believe that, but you really can, because I know, because I'm proof of that. I'm still really attached to my mom. I'm still really connected and loving with her, but I'm not hurting that much anymore, because I've worked through the trauma. I've accepted what happened, and then I've accepted that my life is what it is. It can't change. We will never change, but this is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, anyone that knows me knows that my beautiful Great Dane that's behind me passed away last year, and he was my business partner. He ended up being my therapy dog. And when we lost him last year, we knew it was coming because his back legs were going and he was getting sick, but it wasn't sudden in a sense that yours was. But I was a complete nightmare. I was, dare I say it, like I felt so bad that I was so bad. I was like, why am I so bad? But he was just such a part of our lives. But obviously, he, you know, wherever I was, he'd come with my sessions, but he was just an amazing dog anyway. And the day after he died, I got a message in my head that said I've got to write a book. So my book now, I've had someone helping me write it. We're just on the final reviews of it now, but it is a story about grief of losing your pet, but it's also the story of Lufa in his life, but also in his death, because as part of him dying, he helped me to connect. A client of mine registered a star. So when I was doing my therapy training, I couldn't really connect to my body. I was too stuck in here still. And then once I clocked on that I had a star and I could connect to him, that was the first time I was ever able to go bang and felt that. Oh, what was that? Oh, that will be your mind and body connecting then, will it? You know, that kind of started my spiritual journey in that sense. So I didn't know it at the time when we started the book, but that's kind of where it's gone. So it's a story of, it's got all different stories, funny stories about owning him as a dog and the things we got up to with him. And but there's also loads of stories from other people that they've written about him in it, because of the, you know, it made such an impact. But there's also stories that other people wrote for the book about how their pet transformed their lives. Like, for example, there's one in there that a client of mine, it's about her son, that he was on a journey like that. It was not going well for him, shall we say. And if it hadn't been for their dog, he said, I wouldn't be here. He would have killed himself. The dog kept him, you know, and it's mainly dogs, but there are a few cats in there as well. But the whole point is, it's about the power of owning pets as well, and the spiritual element of it. And we all, as a family, learned so much from having Lufa, and so many fun times with him. But he just has such a profound impact on not only us but other people as well. He was like a local celebrity; everybody knew him, and I'd never really been given a message like that in my head before, and I was like, "What's this?" Oh, apparently that's my intuition. It turns out though, because he's actually come to visit me at a yoga session, believe it or not, and there was a lady there who is a medium and spirit guide and stuff. So he came through her to speak to me, and also, I was also found out not that long ago now that he's actually one of my spirit guides.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's really nice.
So it's kind of turned into something that I never knew would. A bit like, it made me think just now actually about what you said about EFT. You didn't know what it was, and then one day it just landed on your lap.
Yeah.
But actually, that's not a coincidence, is it?
Never is. There's no coincidence. That's no coincidence.
And this is what's amazing about life, isn't it? If you can find it within yourself to actually stop, get off the treadmill for a little while and just be present and be kind to yourself, which is incidentally everything I do in my group program, by the way, a little plug. But that's when the magic starts to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would also add that's when you stop being a victim of your circumstances, because that is so easy to do, and it's the easiest thing. Like, oh, all this bad thing happened to me, poor me, poor me, poor me. Okay, you can do that, you can choose to do that, but then all of this gonna happen after is a consequence of this choice. Or you can go, okay, this happened to me, but I'm gonna make the rest of my life better. In my case, I'm gonna work to make my mom proud of me, of all of my life, that because I'm still here. And it's a choice. People don't think that they have a choice, but they do have it.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you. And that's half the problem, isn't it? It's being, like you said, being that victim. And this is something else that you and I would have learned from, all of this work that we've done and continue to do, is it goes back to listening to the way you're talking to yourself, isn't it? And if you choose to be the victim and you start playing that victim card, well, you will attract that anyway.
Absolutely.
If you're being really negative and talking to yourself in a negative way, then you will just bring on more negativity. That's just the law of attraction. It's the way it works. We are an energy, and energy attracts energy, right? So I don't know about you, but I like to prefer to attract some positive energy in my life now and keep that vibration high.
Absolutely.
And then the magic happens. I know that I just said that, but it's true, isn't it? I mean, your magic started happening when your intuition or something told you to say, oh, hang on, what's this EFT stuff? What's that all about? You could have just gone, jog on, but you didn't. I wonder, can you put your finger on it now? What made you go, hang on, let me be interested in that right now?
Well, I think if I had to put my finger on one moment, I think it's slightly before that is when I decided I didn't want to be an employee anymore, and I wanted to be my own boss, because I think that's the catalyst that started the whole process. Because otherwise I would have been stuck in a job or another job that I didn't like anyway, because clearly I understand now that this is what I'm supposed to do. So whatever job I would have done, it wouldn't have been my ideal place to be. So I think the point is when I decided I don't want to work for anyone ever again. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own things. And then I was open. I was like, what do I do? Don't know. Universe, give us a sign.
Yeah, give me some help. Do you think you actually did that though, and went, come on, help me? Do you think you actually asked? Do you?
I did, because I was so lost. I was like, I know 100% I don't want to work for anything, for anyone ever again. But what do I do? What do I do? And it was a bit of a funny moment in my life, because my second son was just born. Well, I just finished my maternity leave. So there was the time that I would have either gone back, or I had to do something. And we also moved house, and we moved city, and everything was up in the air. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Please just give us a hand here. I don't know. And then then the idea of becoming a coach, because I'm empathic, I like to listen to people. So that was the first more renowned thing, so I went for that, and then kind of it's narrowed it down, and then EFT at the right moment presented itself. Because obviously training for being a coach is, I started doing some work on myself. So I've worked on my fears, my emotions, my whatever happened in the past, because obviously you have to go there so to be able to help others. All of that started bringing back all of those feelings that I repressed for 20 years. And then when they all come up kind of to here, then EFT arrived and it went and that's why I was able to release it all completely. So yes, everything was done to a plan, and I'm sure 100% that everything worked perfectly
as it should have
well.
done.
As it should have done, yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's something else you have to learn, isn't it? That you have to trust the universe, God, whatever it is you follow, that you're where you need to be. Now that can only really work though when you're working towards something positive, can't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're in a terrible place in your life, you don't want to be going, well, I'm just trusting this is where I should be right now. No, that isn't. That if you're in that place right now where you're not in a good place, then you need to be asking yourself, not, oh, poor me, what can I do to help myself get out of this? I'm in a terrible place right now, but what small things can I do? What little steps can I do? Well, maybe that first step might be, do you know what, I'm going to start meditating, or I'm going to start breathing it. Find out, I'm going to go on YouTube or whatever and go and find out a breathing technique, or whatever. I mean, obviously come and see one of us, obviously, but that aside, the normal thing to do, isn't it? So you might Google, oh, why do I feel so crap? What can I do to make myself happy? And you'll get little snippets of information, right? And then you might start following a podcast or something like that and get, oh, that sounds like a good book, I'll get that. And you start small, don't you? You start finding out little bits, and then you go, well, that's interesting. Okay, so if I was to think about that a little bit differently, then I could start making some change. And that's how it starts, isn't it? You start off with that little tiny snowball, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually you get to a point, hopefully sooner rather than later, and go and reach out for professional help. But obviously sometimes finances and things don't always, that's not always an issue, not always possible, is it? But if you've got the financial gain, cut to the chase and go and get a therapist and coach, or practitioner, whatever it is you need, and get it done, right? Because life is too short. Don't sit there dwelling on things and living in your self-pity, because that's just a way of thinking. That's just your current perspective, isn't it? Change that perspective then. Tell yourself a different story.
Exactly. And now that now that we're surrounded by information, so it's even easier to start changing the way you've always been. You figure, oh, I've always been like this, I've always been unlucky. Have you really? Or are the choices that you have made? What if you start making slightly different choices every day? Just a very small one. It's gonna nudge you a bit more this way, and then a bit more this way, a bit more this way. In a year, you're gonna be here. What you would have been here if you would have carried on with your own.
What the time?
So
exactly. Taking 1%. Taking those small. You don't have to go from here to here straight away. Sorry, it's a bit we overlap a little bit because it's a bit delayed, isn't it? Sometimes it's recorded, but
sorry.
No, don't apologise. It's probably both of our internet, isn't it? So it's not that we're over talking each other, everybody, and being rude. It's just that there's a delay. Not all the time. It's just occasionally, isn't it? But yeah. So I think the moral of the story is you have to be in charge of your own destiny. You can't spend your life waiting for other people to do something for you. If you want to do it, you need to do it yourself.
Yes.
Stop, as you said, being a victim, and look at all the things like you were saying about, oh, nothing ever works out for me, or you go, well, really, is that really true? I'm never lucky in love. Well, maybe you're choosing the wrong type of people, but that all comes down to what's in your subconscious as well, doesn't it? If your root belief is that I'm not lovable, then guess what? You're going to start putting subconsciously projecting that out, and you're only going to attract people that are going to come and be horrible to you because you're not lovable anyway. So what does it matter? You don't care about yourself, so why should they? But once you start fixing your own heart and everything else, then you will start attracting more abundance, more good things, more positive things in your life.
Exactly. And I really think it's being aware of that little step, aware that there is something that you can change. Or if you can't on your own, you can start the process and then find someone that can help you finish it. But being aware that you're not stuck. Even something happened to you, as I was saying earlier, if trauma has happened to you, you're not stuck there. You can overgrown it, or you can move past it. You can go away and still live a happy life and be happy.
Yeah, and I think the important thing there is I say this saying quite a lot now, that you can't always think your way out of a situation. Sometimes you have to feel your way out of it, and this is when talking about stuff is great, because you can go, okay, I get why I'm thinking, I feel like that and everything, but you're still feeling it. So that's only half the job, isn't it? But once you understand, so you might say you was like abused as a child or something, and it made you feel really terrible about yourself, and you can go, okay, I've worked through that now, and I understand why I feel terrible about myself, and that's great knowing that. But if you're not changing that and not getting rid of the trapped feelings and emotions that are sitting in your body, you're still going to carry on feeling like that, aren't you?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's about freeing yourself, which is what we both do, but just in a different way.
Exactly. It's so important honoring what happened and release it and let it go. Once it's gone, it's out of your system, and you've released all of that, those emotions and all that trauma and all of those things that are stuck inside of you. You need to let them go, but you need to know how to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's when you and I come in our different ways, and or people like us, because you can do so much by yourself, as we indicated earlier. But if you really want to make the real deep dive changes, then you're going to need help, and that's when you'll come in your way of doing stuff. I come in the way I do, but actually the end result will be the same. We'll get to the root cause of what's causing. I can do a lot of mine in one deep dive session, which can be quite long, can be like 2 to 3 hours sometimes. But the other sessions I have are more prep, and then the clarity coaching, embedding the new change into your life. But for one real issue like anxiety or something like that, I can do that in one session. But I tend to work with people for a bit longer, because it's not always that one thing, is it?
Yeah.
They'll come to you with one issue, like, oh, I'm really anxious. But actually, when you start delving in, there's other things as well. They're very fearful. They're lacking confidence. They procrastinate, self-sabotage, which are all linked, because they're all fear-based anyway. And one of the things that I teach my clients as well is the power of your imagination. It is the most powerful tool that we all have, and it's absolutely free, and there's no limit to it. You can use it as often as you want, but unfortunately we're all good at using it in a negative way, aren't we? Like anxiety, fears, worry. Can you think about all the energy you're using up on a daily basis worrying about something that's never going to happen?
No,
Can you imagine what you could do with your life if you was using that energy in a positive way? Imagine, like, oh my God, if I was doing this, I could go and travel, I could do this, I could do that, I could do, use your imagination in a positive way, use that energy, raise your vibration, rather than using all that negative energy and just bringing yourself down. And causing more feelings, isn't it?
Exactly, because then when you put it out, when you even think about it, then you're going to attract that. So might as well attract good things, as you were saying earlier, than attract bad things.
Exactly. And it's as simple as switching the mindset, isn't it? It's as simple as switching, and that this all goes back to the language that you use, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, good stuff never happens to me. Well, if you say that all the time, then it's not. So do you know what? I'm really happy. I woke up this morning. I'm so grateful. It's the old gratitude, isn't it? I thought I've woke up this morning, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I've got food. I've got fat, Just doing 4 or 5 acts of gratitude every single day raises your vibration. I think it's something increases your happiness by 25%, and studies have proved that. So imagine that just by being grateful in the morning, you're already raising your happiness vibration by 25%. And then if you go out and do something fun or have a conversation, you know, do something good, then you're just do some exercise, being proud that you've got off your backside and gone and done something, doing something for yourself, or others, or others, because we should always put ourselves first. And this is the problem I have with my clients. Nobody does, because they feel guilty, right? But you shouldn't. You know, don't look after yourself. You can't be in a good place to help everybody else, can you?
Especially, I can really see that being a mum and having children. You know, I was always taught then that mums always sacrifice for the kids, and they're always last. That they have to be last. They always have to give the last piece of cake to the kids. And like, no. The last piece of cake is mine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I understand if it's something major. Obviously, will give my own life for my children. Obviously, I can tell you that right now. But on a daily basis, let's give ourselves some credit as mom, as human being, as women. You know, yes, you can give to your kids, but also, as you said, give first to yourself. So do you have more to give to your kids? If you're completely depleted of energy and everything, what are you going to give to your kids? You're gonna pour from an empty cup.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say.
That's how it is.
Isn't it?
How it is. You might as well pour from a full cup, an overflowing cup, so that you're happy and that they are happy, and you also bring an inspiration to them because you're showing them how you should treat yourself. For a little girl, you know, because she might become a mother one day, so that she has an example of how a mother should behave, and for a little boy as well, to show how his wife or partner or whatever should behave.
Absolutely.
We're not being ungrateful or selfish by wanting stuff for ourselves as well. And there has to become more common knowledge now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And because we know that all the habits that we have in lives are learned anyway, right? Mostly are learned from our caregivers. So instead of learning bad habits, why can't we learn good ones?
Exactly.
Right. And the good thing about habits or beliefs, right? Belief is just something that you believe, right? And you might have a lot of negative limiting beliefs, but it is a belief. So why don't we just start thinking, well, why don't I think about that in a more positive way then? It's just a belief. So instead of thinking I'm absolutely rubbish, do you know what? I'm pretty awesome. Either one is just a thought.
Exactly. Yeah.
So make that thought a positive one, isn't it?
No.
You know, it's not rocket science.
No, exactly. I'm smiling because I remember that I read in a book, they said there is no thought police. So you can think whatever you want. You know, if you today you want to start thinking, I'm amazing, I'm awesome, I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. Who's there to come and check my thoughts? No one is gonna know, but it's gonna change my life for the better in the long run.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And funny enough, when I work with my clients, I'll quickly say this because then I need to wrap up. But when I do the deep dive one-to-ones with them, we go and find the root cause, and we do lots of different jiggery pokery to get it out of their bodies and stuff. But I give them a recording as well. Now that recording is all about exactly what you're saying. It's about embedding. So I do a lot of prep with them beforehand. So we do a lot of future pacing so we can use the power of the imagination. But it's about putting in real good, positive, I'm amazing, I'm phenomenal, I'm best thing since sliced bread, whatever. I don't use those words, but you know what I mean. And because your brain learns by repetition, you're hearing that recording every single day. And then you just are confident. You just are amazing, right? And you just are, because that's now your new blueprint. Whereas the old one was you're rubbish, you're crap, you're ugly, you're fat, you're thin, or, you know, whatever. But now they're beautiful, they're phenomenal, they're amazing. And then, you know, you wake up in the morning not just being that way.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about what I do. And I'm sure it's the same for you, that yes, you could have degrees coming out your ears about how the brain works and how the body works and all of that, and that's great, but we don't need all that. It's actually what we need for everyday life. It's quite straightforward. Don't talk to yourself in a shitty way, right? Use your power of your imagination in a really positive way. Raise your vibration. But the most important thing is that, like we said earlier, you can do a lot on your own, but you can't do it all by yourself sometimes. So you do need to get that help.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, when we come in. So on that note, darling, do you just want to do a quick summary of how people can find you? We will put it in the social medias and stuff, but just briefly say like what kind of work they can do with you, whether it's one to, you know, how they can find you, and then that's the lasting impression they'll have, so they'll know that exactly what they need to do.
Sure. So I work mainly online, as I was saying earlier, and I offer 3 online session on 3 weeks. So one session a week. And you can book them directly on my website. There is also the opportunity to do a free 30-minute call with me, where we can discuss what your issue is and decide if EFT tapping is a good modality for you. And if you want to start following me and see what I do and what I generally talk about, you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I'm under my name, so Alessandra Amico-Jones, and you'll find my book on Amazon.
And yeah, and we'll put the link in for that as well. We'll drop that link in a minute to all the socials, etc. as well, so they can go and find that book and order that, because I think that's amazing, and it does look really, really cute. I like it.
Thank you. I can't take the credit for the drawing. I didn't do the drawing, but I wrote the story.
Doesn't matter. It's your final decisions. And I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and I love it. And I'm sure you and I will have further conversations in the future. And so same for me. I'm on pretty much all the social medias. I'm Julie Millieside on Instagram, but pretty much everywhere else I'm Millieside Therapy and Coaching. Go over to my YouTube channel, which I'm super proud of, which has got all of the interviews that I've done with such guests like yourself. And I've also got client interviews as well and client video testimonials. So get yourself over there to Millieside Therapy and Coaching. And if you're interested in working with either of us, then just reach out and we'll both be happy to have a conversation. So thank you so much for watching. And I shall see you next time with yet another unstoppable guest. See you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or wherever time you're watching. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.